Ever wondered why that club track makes your heart race and feet move uncontrollably? Hint, it's not just the 5 drinks you had. That, my friends, is the sorcery of sidechain compression. You see, music isn't just notes and rhythm, it's a dialogue. And sidechain, it's the masterful art of making one sound humbly step back so another can boldly step forward. So ready to make your bass and kick play the flirtatious tango? Let's dive in. So you stumbled into the deep rabbit hole of music production, and guess what's lurking? Sidechain compression. Sidechain compression, in its essence, is making one sound duck out of the way, giving the limelight to another. Think of it as a polite conversation between instruments, where one goes, "After you, dear sir," every time the other wants to speak. But why this courteous exchange? Well, it makes your track breathe, giving it life and groove. And when we automate the volumes of tracks like this, it makes mixing instruments easier and gives better end results. Now let's discuss some production vocabulary you'll need to know related to sidechain compression. First up, we have threshold. That's the volume level where the compression or the volume ducking begins. Then we have ratio. This is the intensity of the ducking. It affects how much volume is being taken away. Then we have the attack. This is how quickly the ducking starts, immediate or after a 1-2 cha-cha-cha. Release, this is the time taken to stop the ducking and then for the signal to come back to life. Confused? Intrigued? Perfect. Let's dial it in all one step at a time. All right, enough theory and chit chat. We're gonna get our hands dirty so you can actually hear what a real sidechain action looks like, and you can discover how to make it for yourself. So here I have a demo track that I've been working on, and I wanna make the bass and the kick sit a little bit nicer together in the mix. To do so, first I'm bust all of my bass tracks together. As you can hear, they're going to sum 7. That means when I solo this, I'll get all of my bass tracks by themselves. In this bass stack, I also happen to have a lead voxy, as I've so aptly named it, but it's going to be fine because we're going to sidechain the kick to all of these elements to make them flow more. Here's what my drum kit sounds like by itself. Perfect. And I actually have a parallel compressed drum kit right here to give it a little bit more compression. You can hear that kick, really subby, and it's not taking up a ton of frequency information. In order to get that to shine through, we're going to add a sidechain. So going onto our bus here, we already have a compressor bringing these sounds a little bit together, but we're going to go to compressor again. Then we'll click on this sidechain input right here. We'll click on instrument, and we'll click on kick drum one shot instrument 1. That's going to be our first slot of our DMD, our drum machine designer in Logic, that's going to sidechain. So now we have this sidechain. This is saying every time that kick plays, we're going to duck out some of this volume. And just like before, we can adjust the parameters how we want using those vocabulary that we mentioned earlier. So if we have threshold, we can take this down, and that means less volume from the kick is going to trigger this to go more and take away more decibels. We can add in ratio, which means that when that kick triggers the threshold, more volume will be taken away. 5-to-1 means for every 1 decibel over the threshold that this goes, 5 decibels will be taken away. As you can see, that's quite a bit. We also have auto gain turned on. We're going to turn that off so we don't get any clipping. We'll add that back into our ear. Next, we'll adjust the attack and the release so that it flows with the song. I'm looking for it to make the groove better. I'm probably going to use a faster attack so that it happens really quickly, and then I'm going to use a longer release according to the BPM of the song. Take a listen. I want to give that kick enough room to breathe. I'll adjust the release till I think it sounds good. That pulsating groove that you hear is exactly why sidechain sounds so cool. Sidechain isn't just an effect, it's an emotion, it's a dance. And like any dance, it needs finesse, balance, and a dash of wild abandon. So go on, tweak, play, and find your groove for your song, because everything's gonna be different. If you're looking to up your sound even more, subscribe to our new newsletter, 5 Beat Friday, where every week we serve up 5 short points to help you improve your music. That includes free mixes, exclusive beats, pro tips and tricks, the best plugins, and exclusive discounts. Don't miss out. Join 5 Beat Friday now and stay ahead of the game. You can sign up in the link below. So that was the basics of sidechaining. But now it's time to spice things up. We're diving deep and exploring some more advanced sidechain techniques. Ever felt like ducking just a slice of your sound and not the whole pie? Enter multi-band sidechain. Why smother the entire bass when only the low end is being a chatterbox? Duck those specific frequencies and let the rest sing. And though it is possible to do this with stock Logic plugins, it's very much easier to use third-party plugins. In this case, I'm going to be using the FabFilter Pro MB. This plugin made my list of my 10 favorite plugins that I can't live without. You can check out that video right here. So let me show you what I mean. We're going to get rid of this sidechain and we're going to add in the FabFilter Pro MB. Now, we just want to take this low end and affect the low end. We don't want to affect the whole signal like what we were doing before. So I'm going to set this around 330 looks good. I'm going to take that same instrument and I'm going to sidechain to it. Now I'll go into expert mode here. I'll click external as my link. And you can see every time that kick plays, the same thing happens. We can adjust our levels a little bit more visually with this plugin, which is why I like it so much. As you can hear, that's only the low end that's being affected by this now. It gives it that feel, but it's not quite the same as before. And this can be really helpful if you're trying to get really specific with the mixing decisions you want to make. I more often will compress the entire signal because I really like the way that it flows and grooves, but this is a fantastic way if you're just focusing on one part of the spectrum. I actually use this more with vocals, which I'll get to in a second. Now on to the next advanced sidechain topic. This one is called triggering. Imagine a ghost in the machine, silent, unseen, yet pulling all the strings. Ghost kicks or non-audible triggers do just that. They control the dance without making a sound, and you can add this for rhythmic effects or just to give a pulsating vibe. And let me show you what I mean. For triggering, we're going to use one sound that's not perceivable or not playing any sound to duck the signal of another sound. So for this instance, I'm going to use this shaker. I'm going to duplicate it onto this track, and I'm actually going to change the output from stereo out to no output at all. Then I'm going to go into my pad, which is the sound I want to be ducked. I'm going to go into my compressor. I'm going to sidechain to this track right here, the one we just made. It's called Audio 4. So let's find Audio 4. Now, if we just solo this track, you can hear nothing's happening. Well, it's because we took the stereo output out. After adjusting some of the parameters, this is what I came up with. You can hear that some of the rhythms being affected here are actually now affecting the pad. You can use this to get really creative with rhythmic variations and effects, and I love doing this for drums or even pads like this to give my song more movement. On to advanced technique number 3. And this sidechain technique, we're going to use the multi-band compressor, just like we used before, to carve out space for our vocals in a dense mix. You can use this with any instrument, but it's going to help them sit better together in the mix. Okay, let's pull up our Pro MB once again. We have our whole synth stack. As you can see, look at the frequency spectrum this is taking up. Now, I really want our vocals to stick out, so I'm going to go into the mid to upper mid range, maybe around 1 to 3K, and we're going to take this out, but we're only going to sidechain our vocals to it. Let's go into our Audio 3, which happens to be our vocals. Really great with the track naming on this one. We're going to go into Audio 3, sidechain it, go into Expert, External, using that sidechain. Take the range down. We don't want this to be too dramatic. Take the ratio down a bit as well. Without even touching the volume of the audio of the actual vocals itself, the vocals are sitting in better. Take a listen to A, B. I'll A, B this so you can hear it. This is with it on. Gets a little bit lost in the mix. Taking off that little bit of energy that's going to help our vocals sit in the mix that much better. You can use this with any 2 instruments. The most common I use this for is vocals, but get creative. There are so many possibilities with sidechain compression and sidechain multi-band compression that it's going to take your mix to the next level. And hey, if this little guide struck a chord, do me a solid and smash that like button, hit subscribe, and ring that bell, because between you and me, this is just an overture. Stick around and let's make some magic.